The first time I saw her she wasn't human, but she looked more broken than anyone I'd ever met. The night was quiet, cold, and strange. I was driving back from my late shift at the observatory, cutting through the back roads of rural Montana. My headlights sliced through the fog, illuminating pine trees and the endless dark sky above. Then, for half a second, everything turned white. Not lightning. Not a meteor. It was something else. A streak of brilliant silver tore across the clouds and crashed somewhere in the hills ahead. My radio hissed with static. I don't know what possessed me to drive toward it instead of away, but curiosity and instinct outweighed reason. When you've spent years studying the stars, you can't ignore one that falls from the sky. Beginning, the woman in the fire. The forest clearing was scorched black. Trees bent outward, and at the center was something that looked like a metallic cocoon, cracked open like an egg. The air smelled of ozone and burnt earth. And lying beside it was a figure, humanoid but wrong in the details. Her skin shimmered faintly violet under the moonlight. Her hair, silver and tangled, clung to her face. She wore some kind of body armor, cracked and bleeding with glowing fluid. Her chest rose and fell barely. I knelt beside her. She flinched, eyes snapping open. Irises a deep amber, alien and full of pain. She tried to speak but only managed a whisper. "Don't touch the child." Only then did I notice a smaller figure, half buried in the wreckage. A child, curled up beneath a protective panel, unconscious but breathing. Whatever she wasn't here to invade. She was trying to save her child. "I'm not going to hurt you," I said softly. "I'm going to help." She didn't fight as I lifted her and the child one by one into my truck. Her armor hummed weakly as if alive. By the time I reached my cabin, she was out cold. Middle stranger in my home. I worked through the night to patch her wounds. Her blood wasn't red but luminous blue, glowing faintly under the lamp. My hands shook, but years of first aid training kicked in. When I finished, I checked the child, smaller, thinner, maybe 6 years old by human standards. They both survived the night. When morning came, she woke and nearly killed me. The blade appeared out of nowhere, humming blue, pointed at my throat. Her eyes burned with fury and fear. "Where is my son?" she demanded. Her accent was strange but clear. "Right here," I said, raising my hands. "He's safe. You're both safe." She turned toward the couch where the child lay under a blanket. Her weapon lowered slightly. Then, as if realizing how weak she still was, she collapsed back onto the bed. "I owe you," she said quietly. "But you should not have helped us. They will come." "Who?" Her gaze hardened. "The Threx Dominion. The ones who killed my mate. The ones who would see my child dead because of his bloodline." She told me her name, Sarai, of the Valeri species. Her husband, a Valeri general, had refused to join the Threx's crusade of planetary conquest. For that he was executed. Sarai and her child, Cain, escaped, hunted across systems until her ship was crippled. Earth was unclaimed. "Hidden," she said bitterly. "I thought we could vanish here." Her eyes met mine. "You risked everything to bring us here. Why?" I didn't have a great answer. "Because you needed help," I said simply. "And I was there." Her gaze lingered on me, not with trust but something softer. Confusion, perhaps. Life between worlds. Days passed. Sarai and Cain grew stronger. She repaired fragments of her armor using salvaged metal I scavenged. Cain was curious, always touching things, asking questions in broken English. He liked my telescope. When I showed him how to use it, his face lit up. Sarai, on the other hand, was distant. She spent most nights outside, scanning the sky with a small device she'd built from the wreckage. "They'll find the signal eventually," she murmured one evening as I joined her. "We can't stay." "You can, at least for now," I said. "No one comes up here. Not since the old mine closed." She looked at me like she didn't understand the concept of safety. Maybe for her kind, safety was a myth. That night we talked. Really talked. She told me about her world. Valera, a planet of endless oceans and glowing coral cities. She told me about her husband, Rin, who died refusing to let the Threx enslave their people. And I told her about Earth, how humanity had its own wars, losses, and small kindnesses. "You humans are strange," she said, staring into the fire. "You fight each other, and yet you help a stranger from the stars." I smiled faintly. Maybe that's what makes us human. The warning. It was 2 weeks before the first sign came. The night sky flashed faintly green, distant, rhythmic. Sarai froze when she saw it. "They found me." Before I could speak, she grabbed Kane and her weapon. "We must leave. Now." "Leave and go where? You can't survive out there without your ship." Her jaw clenched. "If they find you with us, they'll burn this world." I stepped forward. "Then they'll have to go through me." Her eyes widened, not in fear but disbelief. "You would die for us." I didn't hesitate. "You're not dying on my watch." For a long moment she said nothing. Then she nodded. "Then we fight together." The attack. They came at dawn, ships that shimmered like smoke, dropping silently into the treeline. I could feel the tremor of their engines through the ground. Sarai handed me one of her spare weapons, a compact plasma carbine. "Point and fire," she said. I was shaking. But when the first Threx trooper emerged, tall, black-scaled, eyes burning crimson, I fired. The recoil nearly broke my arm, but the shot hit true. Sarai moved like a storm, her armor glowing with deflected fire, blades flashing with blue energy. For every Threx that fell, 2 more came. Kane hid beneath the floorboards, clutching his mother's pendant. Then a voice echoed from the trees. Deep, mechanical, cold. "Sarai of Valera," it said. "Surrender the child, and we will let the human live." Her hand trembled. "They want his blood," she whispered. "He carries his father's genetic code, the key to resistance." I grabbed her arm. "You give him up, and everything you've lost means nothing." She looked at me, tears or maybe alien light shining in her eyes. "You speak as if you understand." "I don't have to. I just know what's right." The humans stand. I led them to the old mine. It went deep, a labyrinth of tunnels that hadn't seen life in decades. Sarai followed, Kane in her arms. When the Threx entered, we rigged the supports with old fuel tanks and dynamite I kept for mining work. "They'll follow the heat signatures," Sarai said. "You must go. I'm not leaving you." She turned toward me, her voice breaking. "You have done enough, Ethan. More than any of your kind should have. Let me end this." I shook my head. "No. We end it." The first explosion shook the earth. Dust rained from the ceiling as the Threx swarmed through the tunnel. Plasma bolts lit up the darkness. I fired until my rifle overheated, until the smell of smoke and metal filled the air. Then Sarai took my hand, pressing something cold into it. Her husband's insignia, a small glowing crystal. "If I fall," she said, "take care of Kane. Tell him his mother fought for his freedom." She turned and charged into the collapsing tunnel, her armor flaring brilliant blue. The explosion that followed blinded me. When I woke, the mine was gone, sealed beneath tons of rock. The sky was silent again. Kane sat beside me, clutching the pendant I still held. His eyes, the same amber as hers, were wet with tears. "She said you'd protect me," he whispered. I wrapped an arm around him, staring at the horizon. "I will." Ending, the promise of tomorrow. Months passed. The government never found the wreckage. The Threks never returned. Maybe they believed she'd died in the blast. Maybe she had. Kane stayed with me. He grew quickly, faster than any human child. He learned English, studied my books, asked about the stars. Every night, he'd climb to the roof and whisper something in his native tongue before bed. When I asked him once what it meant, he smiled softly. "It means, may she watch from the waves." He believed his mother was alive somewhere out there, watching, waiting. Maybe he was right. Because sometimes on clear nights, I see a single streak of silver across the sky. Too slow to be a meteor, too deliberate to be chance. And every time I see it, I whisper back into the quiet, "You're not forgotten." Sarai came to Earth broken, widowed, and hunted. But she left behind something more powerful than vengeance. She left hope. And for one small corner of the universe, a human hand reaching out had made all the difference.